Hi, this is Christine Johns, and I'm making a video today because I'm really concerned about women's reproductive health in the USA. I think our medical system is not adequately addressing an issue of heavy bleeding on menstrual cycles and short menstrual cycles that is caused by low progesterone. And I felt like I needed to make this video today for people who are suffering like I was and looking to YouTube and other sources online for help and just not finding adequate explanations for them to be able to fix their problem. And all kinds of terrible things are happening, such as hysterectomies, myomectomies, which is where they cut out fibroids, messing around with women's hormones and trying to lower the estrogen with shots and all kinds of supplements like DIM that are further exacerbating the problem, when in fact these women could actually be experiencing healthy periods if they were only aware of their situation. So I know that I was in this situation and I was able to heal myself. So I'm going to give you the information on what I did. This may not work for your particular situation. I am not a doctor. I am not a naturopath. I am not licensed to practice medicine. I can only tell you what my situation was and what I myself did to solve it. And I'm really grateful that I was able to figure this out. A lot of women are just suffering. And I mean, when I say a lot, it's in the hundreds of thousands. So something like this needed to be put out in order to help those women. Okay, so I'm going to start by describing my problem. My cycle for a long time was a normal healthy cycle. It was anywhere between 30 to 40 days long, which was normal for me. And I was happy with it. It lasted about 3 days, but it was a bit heavy and it would be painful. And, you know, I wasn't completely happy with it, but you know, who is? So, you know, I thought this was normal, and it turns out that women are really not supposed to have cycles where they bleed a lot. The most you're supposed to lose is 3 tablespoons. And the reason why you're losing more is because there's a lot of estrogen mimicking chemicals in our environments, such as in our foods and in normal household sprays and cleaners, laundry detergent, and things like that. So that is why women have more, and men have more estrogen in their system than they should. Sorry, I just had to plug in my phone. It was actually running out of energy. So basically, women start out basically from the start being estrogen dominant. And the truth is that the most blood that we should be losing on our period is around 3 tablespoons. And it should not be huge, scary, and awful, but a lot of us just don't know that, and we're not told. And so we go along, and basically anyone who has a period cycle should be taking iron, because the more blood you lose, the more iron you lose from your system. And you lose even more iron when you decide to do stupid things like I did, which was go vegetarian, go vegan, and experiment around with all kinds of diets. I'm not saying that it's necessarily stupid for everyone, and I'm aware that there are whole cultures, such as in India, that are mostly vegetarian or vegetarian, but it was not smart for me because my background does not indicate the ability to tolerate vegetarianism, at least not for very long. So I lost a lot of iron in being a vegetarian, and I also lost a lot of iron due to what's happening chemically in the United States with all the chemicals. It's causing women to be estrogen dominant pretty much from the time that they start their period. So what is happening is a lot of women are just chronically low on iron, borderline anemic, or almost fully anemic, or they have crossed the line and they are now anemic. And that is what had happened to me. My hemoglobin was 10, and it should have been minimum of 12. And my ferritin at one point got all the way down to 10, which the minimum that ferritin should be is 50, which ferritin is your stored iron. And it's even better if the ferritin is up to 70. So what had happened to me is gradually my iron level got lower and lower and lower. And what can happen is when your iron level reaches a certain point, your body will now make you bleed more on your period. It's counterintuitive, but the more you bleed, the more iron you lose. So basically your iron, your ferritin, which is stored iron, is basically draining out of your body. And that had happened to me. So ferritin is actually stored in your bones. It's stored in bone marrow. So I hate to think of the fact that I was just draining and draining and draining blood out of my body, but that's exactly what was going on. And I tried with doctors and tried online to find solutions to this problem. And unfortunately, I was told that my own remedy was going to be either the pill or an IUD or a shot, which all three of those options makes me sick. And I tried it very early in life. It did not work for me. With the depot shot, I ended up in the ER with a giant asthma attack. And with the pill and other options, I became very, very ill and I had to stop using it. So basically, once my gynecologist figured out that I was not willing to take any of her remedies, she stopped trying to treat me. And it was the same with other gynecologists as well. Nobody looked into naturopathic remedies and nobody really cared. And I have to say that my opinion of the medical system in the USA is that it is a shit show. And I wish I could be kinder in the ways that I'm describing it, but I just can't. I know that there's a few good people in the medical business, but unfortunately, most of the people that I have encountered have been ghouls, who basically just want to get money from people, and it's really sad. So we're basically on our own for a lot of stuff here in the US medical system, and that is definitely what happened to me, is that I was just left on my own, bleeding out every single month with doctors who knew about the situation but did not care, and I got anemic. So thankfully, eventually I found the doctor that I had now who gave me a blood test and figured out the situation, because sadly the GP that I had previous to her did not even bother to give me a blood test. So she found out that I was anemic and she asked me to start taking iron supplements. And so this is where I sought more information, and I found a naturopath online, Naomi Judge, who actually knew about the female hormonal system in intricate detail. And I learned from her, watching her videos and talking to her online and communicating with her in her comments section, that the body actually requires iron to create progesterone. So that is the problem. Women are getting chronically low in iron, and then their body can literally not create the progesterone that it needs due to the lack of iron. So the progesterone drops, and then they become estrogen dominant. And some of the things that can happen during estrogen dominance is shortened periods, which had definitely happened to me. My period was usually around 30 to 40 days, which was normal for me, as I said before, and it had shortened out to around 21 to 24 days. And this has happened to a lot of other women. And I was losing close to a pint of blood every month and had become anemic and didn't know it. And I had huge dark circles and a bunch of other really bad symptoms like chronic fatigue and shortness of breath, etc. So when my doctor asked me to start taking iron, I researched the effects of iron on women's hormonal system. I found Naomi Judge, and thankfully her videos described in detail what happens to the female system when it doesn't have iron and what happens when it does. And so for the past 6 months, I took iron every day. So I started out with Hemoplex, which I have here. So Hemoplex is a liquid iron, and you can buy it in most health food stores. Unfortunately, this iron, which is really easy on your stomach, was not enough. I took this for 2 months, and although it raised my hemoglobin level, which is the level of my level of my available iron, it did not raise my ferritin level, which is the stored iron. With some people it does, but for me it did not, for my particular body. So I then switched to Mega Foods Blood Builder, which is available for about $20 at CVS. And it's a different kind of way to transport the iron, I guess. It's a different form of iron. So this iron was easily absorbed by my body, and the next time my doctor gave me a test, my ferritin had increased to around 22, which is still way, way too low, but it's giving me something to work with. So now I continued on taking these supplements every day, and fortunately my period has been restored to its normal cycle, which is around 35 days, and it is lighter than it ever has been before in my life. So I'm really grateful for this, and I felt that it was really important to tell other women about this. There are a lot of women who have developed fibroids. I know I had at one point developed a fibroid and was really shocked because I had no idea. And this happens when estrogen dominates in the body and there's not enough progesterone, which can be the result of low iron. So instead of having the fibroid cut out, what the doctors should be doing is working with women to try to restore their ferritin, which is this stored iron level, up above 30. I know that some doctors have told me that 30 is okay. I don't believe that, because I still was having my symptoms when my ferritin was actually measured at 31. So I believe that your ferritin should be 50 and up. And some people say that they have symptoms if it's under even 70. I've read that in different groups discussing this problem. So basically, iron is the missing component that's not being talked about by these doctors, and instead they're even trying to give women hysterectomies. And a hysterectomy is not something that you should do. It should be a situation of a last resort, because apparently really terrible things can happen to women if they have a hysterectomy. The uterus is the only structure that's holding back the intestines. So when that's removed, you can get a totally different body shape. And this is really gross, but your ribs can actually settle down against your pelvis, shortening your torso and pooching your stomach out and giving you like a flat butt and a really round stomach look. And now there's nothing protecting your intestines, which I think is just, it's horrible. I mean, you know, to subject women to this unnecessarily is an atrocity. So basically, I think that people need to discuss iron more. Apparently, women in the USA are all walking around with some form of low iron, most of them, unless they just have a really great doctor or unless they happen to figure it out on their own. So I hope this helps. I know that I have now had my normal cycle restored, and I'm extremely grateful. And when I say it was bad before, it was really, really bad. And I'm talking about like waking up to a horror movie scene every time that it was my period. And I had PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I was having a situation where for 2 or 3 days before I would even have my period, I had not just regular PMS, but it was like PMS on steroids, which was pretty awful. And it was disrupting my life and making it so that I couldn't do things that ordinarily I would be expected to do. So the whole thing has been kind of a nightmare, and I'm really grateful that it was resolved. And I'm going to link all the pertinent videos in the description box below, such as the ways to raise your progesterone naturally by Naomi Judge, and a few other videos that talk about the various components of this problem. But I hope this helps someone out there, and I think that all of you should really pay attention to this information, because it would really benefit women overall to not have this debilitating problem. A little attachment to this video to show what I'm taking every single day to increase my health other than the iron. So of course, I just showed you Hemoplex, which is a liquid that's really gentle on your stomach and helps you to absorb iron. And then this is a stronger way to get your iron, which is Megafoods Blood Builder. And it really, really makes me absorb iron much faster than the Hemoplex. But the Hemoplex is easier on your stomach. And then I also take these calcium citrate wafers, which are a combination of magnesium, vitamin D, and calcium. These are chewable wafers. They're really, really easy to take. They've never made me sick or anything. And I just feel like they really help your body. The magnesium relaxes you, and your body needs the calcium. So somehow, especially close to when I'm going to have my period, these calcium wafers are a real rescue. And then I take wild salmon oil. I was taking cod liver oil, but that had too much vitamin A, and I started having problems from the vitamin A. So, because we were only supposed to have a certain amount. So this salmon oil really calms down any inflammation and just helps everything run better. So, I also take liposomal glutathione, which is a substance that is created in the liver, but it really helps the liver to have more of it. And it's in a fat solution so that it can bypass the stomach and get down to the intestines. Because you can take glutathione pills, but they're not as easily able to be absorbed by the body as the liposomal. I also take trace mineral drops every day. It just contains a large variety of minerals, and this just helps everything run more smoothly as well, and the body needs a lot of these minerals. I'll use a spray magnesium oil on areas that need to be relaxed on my body, or just as a quick way to get some magnesium. I think that everyone needs magnesium every day. And I take Source of Life liquid vitamins. This is the vitamin that I've been taking for the longest, and it basically contains a huge list of most vitamins, minerals, plant supplements, and all kinds of other things like that. And it kind of is just, it's a good way to make sure you're just getting everything your body needs. And so I take about a tablespoon of that per day. It says to take 2 tablespoons, but when I take 2, it tends to make me sick to my stomach, so I just stick to 1. And I also do coconut oil pulling every morning for my teeth. I swish a little bit of coconut oil around in my mouth for as long as I can. You're supposed to do it for 20 minutes, but it's really hard to keep it in your mouth for 20 minutes. So I just sit there and pull it through my teeth and the back of my throat for as long as I can. It pretty much ends up staying in there for around 10 minutes to 15 minutes if I'm lucky. But, you know, it's better than nothing. So I just wanted to give you guys like an overview of my total health program. And I have a few other things here, like green superfoods that I take once in a while, and beef liver capsules, stuff for leg veins. But I find that if I exercise at least 3 times a week, that's not really a problem. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good, it took me a long time to work out this stack, and I think that works pretty well for me since I've been settled on this one program of taking these. I've been okay and just feeling better than I have been for a long time. And I also have vitamin D3 for days where there's no sun. But when you take this, you also need to take it with K2 in this form, which is the MK7, because what will happen is D by itself will thin out your bones, and when you take it with the K will make sure that the calcium gets deposited in your bones where it belongs. Somehow these two work together, so I was advised to never take the D without the K2. So I use those on cloudy days, but an even better form of vitamin D is ordering a Spare T UVB panel, where you can mimic sunlight and actually get vitamin D from this light panel without taking any pills. And if you get it that way, it actually benefits your bones much better, because then the vitamin D is already sulfated and your body doesn't have to sulfate it somehow. So that's in the works really soon, actually. It's already the middle of September. So I hope this was a little bit educational and gives you a little bit of more overview of everything that I'm doing. And I also eat a 90% plant-based diet and only 10% animal products. So that is just how I've chosen to approach the whole diet thing. I eat a lot of lentils, squash, sweet potatoes, potato salad, and things like that to get my carbs for energy. And then for the meat or animal part of the diet, I eat a lot of fish, but I do end up eating beef once or twice a week. And I hesitate on chicken because chicken just has a lot of hormones unless you get an organic chicken. So that's probably the meat that I eat the least is chicken, and the most is fish. So I hope this helps.